Marcus Cole had been on Nexar Station for exactly 3 weeks when everything went wrong. The former Marine sergeant had taken a job as a cargo handler because it was the only work available to humans this far from Earth. Most species in the Galactic Council considered humans useful for manual labor and not much else. They were small, they were soft, they had no natural weapons, no scales, no claws, no venom. In the eyes of the galaxy, humans were the universe's most fragile creatures. Marcus did not care what they thought. He needed credits, and moving crates paid well enough. The work was simple. Load cargo onto ships, unload cargo from ships, repeat until the shift ended. He kept his head down and did his job. He had learned that drawing attention to himself only caused problems. Nexar Station was a massive trading hub located in neutral space. Ships from dozens of species docked there every day. The station was shaped like a wheel, with the docking bays on the outer ring and the living quarters in the center. Gravity was artificial and constant. The air recyclers worked overtime to accommodate the breathing needs of 100 different species. Marcus lived in a small room on Deck 7, which was the cheapest section of the station. His neighbors included a family of Kilari traders, a retired Velkosi soldier, and something that looked like a walking mushroom that never spoke to anyone. He kept to himself. He ate alone. He worked alone. This was how he preferred things. The day everything changed started like any other. Marcus woke at station time 0600. He showered, dressed in his work clothes, and ate a protein bar while walking to the cargo bay. The corridors were mostly empty at this hour. A few maintenance drones floated past him, their lights blinking in the dim light. He arrived at Cargo Bay 12 and found his supervisor already waiting. Torak was a Velkosi, which meant he stood nearly 8 feet tall and had 4 arms. His skin was a deep blue, and his eyes were solid black. Like most Velkosi, he looked down on humans both literally and figuratively. "You are late," Torak said. Marcus checked his wrist display. "I'm 2 minutes early." "Human timekeeping is unreliable. Begin work." Marcus did not argue. He had learned that arguing with Torak only extended the conversation. Instead, he grabbed a hover dolly and headed toward the first stack of crates. The morning shipment had arrived from the Draconar Empire, which meant heavy materials and strict handling protocols. The Draconar were the largest species in the Galactic Council. They stood between 9 and 12 feet tall and resembled what humans would call dragons. Scales covered their entire bodies, wings folded against their backs. Their tails were thick and powerful. Their teeth were designed for tearing flesh. The Draconar were also one of the most respected species in the galaxy. They had been spacefaring for over 10,000 years. Their military was legendary. Their honor codes were absolute. They did not lie, cheat, or break promises. When a Draconar gave their word, that word was law. Marcus had never met a Draconar in person. They rarely visited Nexar Station because they considered it beneath them. This shipment was probably just minerals or manufacturing materials bound for one of the inner systems. He worked steadily through the morning, moving crate after crate onto the transport platforms. The work was physically demanding, but Marcus was used to that. His years in the Marines had trained his body well. He could lift more than most humans and work longer without rest. These were useful traits in his current profession. Around midday, he took a break in the small rest area near the cargo bay entrance. He was eating another protein bar when he heard the screaming. The sound cut through the station's ambient noise like a knife. It was high-pitched and terrified. It was the scream of a child. Marcus was on his feet before he consciously decided to move. His body remembered the training his mind sometimes tried to forget. He ran toward the sound, pushing past a group of startled Quillari merchants. The screaming was coming from the market district, one level up from the cargo bays. He reached the access stairs and took them 3 at a time. His lungs burned, but he did not slow down. The screaming continued, getting louder as he climbed. He burst out onto market level and immediately saw the problem. A group of 5 figures in dark armor stood in the center of the main walkway. They were Karathi, a species known for piracy and slave trading. Their faces were hidden behind black helmets, but their body language radiated violence. They carried plasma rifles, the kind that could punch through standard station walls. One of them was holding a child. The child was Draconar. Even young, she was already nearly 4 feet tall, with bright golden scales and tiny wings that flapped uselessly against her captor's grip. Her eyes were wide with terror. Tears streamed down her face. She was screaming for help in a language Marcus did not understand, but the meaning was clear. The market was in chaos. Shoppers and merchants fled in every direction. Station security was nowhere to be seen. The Karathi were backing toward a service corridor, probably heading for a hidden shuttle. Marcus did not think. He acted. He sprinted toward the group, staying low, using the scattered market stalls for cover. He had no weapon. He had no armor. He had nothing but his body and his training. The first Karathi did not see him coming. Marcus hit him from the side at full speed, driving his shoulder into the alien's midsection. The impact knocked the rifle from the pirate's hands and sent both of them crashing to the ground. Marcus recovered first. He grabbed the dropped rifle and swung it like a club, cracking it across the Karathi's helmet. The pirate went limp. The other 4 turned toward him. Time seemed to slow down. Marcus could see the surprise in their body language. They had not expected resistance. They certainly had not expected resistance from a human. The one holding the child shouted something in Karathi. The other 3 raised their weapons. Marcus moved. He dove to his left just as the first plasma bolt seared through the space where his head had been. He rolled, came up firing the captured rifle. The weapon hummed in his hands, unfamiliar but functional. His first shot went wide. His second caught a Karathi in the chest, punching through the armor and dropping him instantly. 2 down, 3 to go. The remaining pirates opened fire with everything they had. Marcus felt the first impact like a hammer blow to his shoulder. The plasma burned through his work clothes and into his flesh. The pain was unimaginable, but he had been hurt before. He knew how to push through pain. He kept moving. He kept firing. Another shot hit his left thigh, then his right side, then his left arm. Each impact was agony. Each impact should have stopped him. But he refused to stop. The child was still screaming. The child was still in danger. He killed the 3rd Karathi with a shot through the head. The 4th went down with 2 bolts to the center mass. That left only the one holding the child. The last pirate backed away, using the young Draconar as a shield. His plasma rifle was pressed against the child's head. "Stay back, human," the Karathi snarled through his helmet speaker. "One more step and I kill her." Marcus stopped. His body was failing. He could feel the blood soaking through his clothes. His vision was starting to blur. He had maybe seconds before he collapsed. He looked at the child. She was staring at him with those huge golden eyes. She was so small, so scared. He thought about his daughter. She had been about this age when the car accident took her and his wife. That was before the Marines, before the pain that drove him to the stars, before everything. He could not save them, but maybe he could save her. "Okay," Marcus said. He dropped the rifle. "You win." The Karathi relaxed slightly. That was his mistake. Marcus moved faster than he had ever moved in his life. He closed the distance in 2 steps, grabbing the rifle barrel and shoving it away from the child's head. The weapon discharged, the plasma bolt burning past his ear. He could smell his own hair burning. With his other hand, he grabbed the child and pulled her free. He threw her behind him, putting his body between her and the pirate. The Karathi recovered and fired again. Marcus felt the bolts tear through his torso. 1, 2, 3, 4 more impacts. His body jerked with each hit. The pain was beyond anything he had experienced before, but he stayed standing. The Karathi stared at him in disbelief. Marcus smiled. Blood dripped from his lips. Humans, he said, are harder to kill than you think. He lunged forward and drove his fist into the Karathi's throat, right at the weak point in the helmet's seal. The blow crushed the pirate's windpipe. The alien collapsed, choking and dying. Marcus turned to check on the child. She was huddled against a market stall, her golden scales pale with fear. But she was alive. She was safe. "It's okay," he said. "You're okay now." His legs gave out. He collapsed to the floor, his blood spreading in a pool around him. The station's lights seemed very far away. The sounds of the market faded into silence. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was the child crawling toward him, her small hands reaching for his face. Marcus woke to pressure. Something heavy was on top of him, something warm and scaled. He tried to move, but his body refused to cooperate. Every muscle ached, every nerve screamed. He was alive, which surprised him more than anything else. He opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was scales, golden scales, like the child he had saved but much larger. They covered a face that was mere inches from his own. A long snout, sharp teeth, eyes like molten amber, staring at him with an intensity that made his heart skip. A draconar. A female draconar, if he remembered his xenobiology correctly, and she was massive. Even lying on top of him, he could tell she was at least 10 feet tall. Her wings were folded against her back. Her tail curled around the edge of whatever bed he was lying on. She was beautiful in a terrifying, alien way. "You are awake," she said. Her voice was deep and rumbling, like distant thunder. Marcus tried to speak, but only a croak came out. "Do not try to talk yet. Your throat was damaged during the surgery." She shifted her weight slightly, but did not get off him. "You took 12 plasma bolts saving my daughter. The station doctor said you should be dead. They said no human could survive such wounds." Marcus stared at her. "I told them they do not understand humans," she continued. "I have studied your species. You are remarkable creatures. Small and soft, yes. But inside you burn with a fire that most species cannot comprehend." She finally moved, sliding off him and settling on the edge of the bed. She was even larger than he had thought. Her head nearly touched the ceiling. "My name is Vorathana," she said. "I am the daughter of the Draconar High General. The child you saved is my daughter, Sariel. You risked your life for her. You nearly died for her. This creates a debt." Marcus managed to make a questioning sound. "In Draconar culture, when someone saves the life of a family member, that person becomes bound to the family. It is called the blood debt. It cannot be refused. It cannot be ignored." She leaned closer, her amber eyes burning into his. "You saved my daughter. Now you belong to me." Marcus blinked. Vorathana smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Welcome to the family, human." The medical bay was quiet except for the soft beeping of machines. Marcus had been drifting in and out of consciousness for what felt like days. Each time he woke, Vorathana was there, sometimes sitting beside his bed, sometimes standing guard at the door, sometimes lying next to him, her massive body generating heat like a furnace. He did not understand why she stayed. He did not understand this blood debt she spoke of. He was a cargo handler, a nobody, a broken man who had come to the stars to escape his past. He was not worthy of attention from Draconar nobility. On the third day, he finally recovered enough to speak. "Why?" he asked. His voice was rough and weak. Vorathana looked at him. She had been reading something on a data pad, her tail swishing slowly behind her. "Why what? Why did you stay? Why are you doing this?" She set down the data pad. "I told you. The blood debt." "That can't be the only reason." She was silent for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was softer than before. "My mate died 2 years ago. He was killed in battle against the Korathi. They have been hunting my family ever since. Sariel and I were traveling in disguise, trying to reach safe territory. We stopped at this station to resupply. Her hands clenched into fists. They found us. They killed my guards. They were going to take my daughter, either for ransom or for worse. She looked at him with those burning eyes. Everyone else ran. The merchants, the shoppers, even the station security. They all ran. But you did not run. You saw a child in danger and you acted. You did not know who she was. You did not know what you would gain or lose. You simply acted. She reached out and placed her massive hand on his chest, covering it entirely. That is why I stay, Marcus Cole. Because in all my years across all the species I have encountered, I have never seen anyone do what you did. You are remarkable, and remarkable things should be protected. Marcus did not know what to say. Rest now, Vorothana said. We have much to discuss when you are stronger. Your old life is over. Your new life begins with us. She lay down beside him, her wing draping over his body like a blanket. Despite everything, despite the pain and confusion and fear, Marcus felt something he had not felt in years. He felt safe. Marcus spent 2 more weeks in the medical bay. The Draconar had brought their own physicians to oversee his recovery, and their medical technology was far more advanced than anything humans had access to. Nanobots swam through his bloodstream, repairing damaged tissue. Regenerative gel sealed his wounds from the inside out. Bone grafts replaced what the plasma had destroyed. The pain was still considerable, but it faded a little more each day. Vorothana remained by his side through all of it. She slept in the medical bay, ate her meals there, conducted her business from a makeshift command post she had set up in the corner. Her daughter, Sariel, visited every day. The young Draconar would climb onto Marcus's bed and curl up against him, her small body warm and trusting. At first, Marcus did not know how to react. He was not used to physical affection. He had not been touched kindly in years. But Sariel seemed to sense his discomfort and ignored it entirely. She would press her golden snout against his chest and make soft, chirping sounds until he relaxed. By the end of the first week, he found himself looking forward to her visits. She has bonded with you, Vorothana explained one evening. In Draconar culture, when a child bonds with an adult who is not their parent, that adult becomes their sworn protector. It is a great honor. I don't know anything about being a protector, Marcus said. You already proved otherwise. He had no response to that. The second week brought new challenges. Word had spread across the station about what Marcus had done. The cargo handlers he had worked with came to visit, awkward and uncertain. Torak, his former supervisor, stood in the doorway and stared at him for a long time before finally nodding once and leaving without a word. Station security also came, asking questions about the attack. Marcus told them everything he remembered. The lead investigator, a Quillari female with silver feathers, recorded his statement and then paused. You killed 4 Korathi raiders by yourself, she said, while unarmed and unarmored, while taking 12 plasma impacts. I was armed after I took the first one's rifle. That is not the point. She leaned closer. Humans are classified as a low-threat species in the Galactic Council databases. You are considered physically weak, technologically primitive, and strategically insignificant. What you did should have been impossible. Marcus shrugged. The databases are wrong. The investigator stared at him for a long moment. Then she closed her recording device and stood up. I will be recommending that the Council update their assessments, she said. Thank you for your cooperation, Mr. Cole. After she left, Vorothana emerged from the corner where she had been watching. The Council will not update anything, she said. They are too proud to admit they have been wrong about your species for centuries. Does it matter? It might. If more humans knew what they were capable of, if they believed it, things could change. She sat down beside his bed. Your species is young, only a few hundred years into space travel. Most of the council species have been among the stars for thousands of years. They look at you and see children. Dangerous children sometimes, but still children. What do you see? Vorothana considered the question. I see potential, raw and unrefined, but immense. Your species evolved on a world that should have killed you. High gravity, toxic atmosphere, extreme temperature variations, predators around every corner. And yet you survived. You thrived. You conquered your world and reached for the stars. She placed her hand on his arm. The galaxy underestimates you because you are small and soft. But I have studied your history. I know what you did to each other before you found peace. I know the wars you fought, the weapons you created, the horrors you survived. Her grip tightened slightly. Humanity is not weak. Humanity is simply sleeping, and when it wakes up, the galaxy will tremble. Marcus looked into her amber eyes. That's a lot of pressure to put on one species. It is not pressure. It is prophecy. The day Marcus was cleared to leave the medical bay, Vorothana presented him with a choice. You can return to your old life, she said. I will provide credits and resources to ensure you are comfortable. The blood debt does not require you to stay with us. It simply means you will always have the protection of my family. What's the other option? You come with us to the Draconar Empire. You live among my people. You learn our ways. You become part of our household. Marcus thought about his small room on Deck 7, his protein bars and lonely meals, his meaningless job moving crates for a supervisor who despised him. He thought about Earth, so far away where no one was waiting for him. Why would you want me? He asked. I'm just a human. I can't fly. I can't breathe fire. I don't have scales or claws. What use would I be among your people? Sariel, who had been sitting on the bed beside him, looked up. You saved me, she said. It was the first time she had spoken directly to him in Standard. Her accent was thick, but her words were clear. You are my protector. You belong with us. Vorothana smiled. My daughter speaks truth. And there is more. She hesitated, something Marcus had never seen her do before. Among my people, there is no greater honor than the blood debt. Those who earn it are celebrated. They become legends. Stories are told about them for generations. I don't want to be a legend. That is precisely why you should be one. Marcus looked at the young Draconar pressed against his side. He thought about her screaming in that market, her tiny wings beating uselessly as she was dragged away. He thought about the terror in her eyes and the way it had transformed into trust when she looked at him now. He had not been able to save his daughter. That pain would never go away. But maybe, just maybe, he could do something right for this one. Okay, he said. I'll come with you. Sariel made a happy chirping sound and wrapped her arms around him. Vorothana's tail swished once, a gesture Marcus was learning meant satisfaction. Then we should prepare for departure, Vorothana said. We have a long journey ahead. The Draconar ship was called the Eternal Flame. It was enormous, nearly a kilometer long, shaped like a massive winged serpent. The hull was covered in scales of dark metal that shimmered with internal light. The engines glowed red, like fire contained within crystal. Marcus stood on the docking platform and stared at it. This is your ship? He asked. This is my warship, Vorothana corrected. I have others. Of course you do. They boarded through a massive cargo bay that could have held a dozen human freighters. The interior was warm, almost uncomfortably so for Marcus. Draconar preferred temperatures that humans would consider extreme. He was given a cooling suit to wear under his clothes, a thin layer of technology that regulated his body temperature. The crew numbered over 3,000. Most were Draconar warriors, male and female alike, all wearing the crimson armor of Vorathana's house. They stared at Marcus as he walked past, their expressions unreadable. He was probably the first human any of them had seen in person. Sariel walked beside him, her small hand gripping his. She seemed to sense his nervousness and stayed close. "They are curious," Vorathana said from behind them. "Word of what you did has spread. They want to see the human who killed 4 Karathi raiders while absorbing 12 plasma bolts." "Great," Marcus muttered. "I'm a circus attraction." "You are a warrior. There is a difference." They reached the residential section of the ship. Vorathana's quarters occupied an entire deck, filled with rooms larger than Marcus's entire apartment back on the station. His assigned room was 3 times the size of what he had been living in, with a massive bed, a private bathroom, and a window that looked out at the stars. "This is too much," he said. "This is the smallest guest room we have," Vorathana replied. "I apologize for the limited space." Marcus laughed despite himself. "I think I'll manage." Sariel pulled at his hand. "I want to show you my room. I have toys and books and a crystal that Mother brought me from the nebula." She dragged him down the corridor before he could respond. Vorathana watched them go, something warm flickering in her amber eyes. The journey to the Draconar homeworld would take 3 weeks. During that time, Marcus was expected to learn the basics of Draconar culture, language, and combat. The last part surprised him. "You wish me to fight?" he asked Vorathana during their first morning meal together. "You have proven your courage. Now you must prove your skill. Among my people, all warriors train constantly. It is not optional." "I'm not a warrior anymore. I was a Marine years ago. Now I'm just a cargo handler." "You were never just anything." She leaned forward, her massive frame casting a shadow over the table. "The man who charged 4 armed enemies with nothing but his fists is not just a cargo handler. The man who took 12 plasma bolts and kept fighting is not just a former soldier. You are something more. You simply do not see it yet." Marcus did not argue. He had learned that arguing with Vorathana was pointless. His training began that afternoon. His instructor was a Draconar male named Varketh, who stood 11 feet tall and had scars covering half his face. He was the ship's combat master, responsible for training all new warriors. Varketh looked at Marcus with obvious skepticism. "You are small," he said. "I've heard." Small is not always bad. Small can be fast. Small can be tricky. The massive alien circled him slowly. "Show me how you killed those Karathi." Marcus demonstrated the techniques he had used in the market: the takedown, the disarm, the close-quarters strikes. Varketh watched without expression. "Crude," he said finally. "Effective, but crude. You rely too much on strength and not enough on precision." "Strength was all I had." "That is the problem. Against a human opponent, strength might be enough. Against a Draconar, you would die in seconds. You must learn to fight smarter." The training was brutal. Varketh did not believe in holding back, even against smaller species. Marcus was thrown, struck, and knocked down dozens of times. His cooling suit was soon soaked with sweat. His muscles screamed for relief. But he did not quit. Every time he fell, he got back up. Every time Varketh knocked him down, he rose again. The other warriors in the training hall began to notice. They stopped their own exercises to watch the small human repeatedly face the combat master. By the end of the first session, Marcus could barely stand. But he was still standing. Varketh stared at him for a long moment. "You do not yield," he said. "Marines don't yield." "What is a Marine?" "A warrior of my people. We are trained to fight until we cannot fight anymore. And then we fight some more." Something shifted in Varketh's expression. It might have been respect. "Tomorrow we continue," he said. "Eat much tonight. Sleep well. You will need your strength." Marcus nodded and limped toward the exit. he found Sariel waiting for him in the corridor. "You look tired," she said. "I am tired." She took his hand again. "Mother says warriors must rest to grow strong. I will take you to the garden. It is peaceful there." The garden was a massive conservatory near the center of the ship. Plants from dozens of worlds grew in carefully maintained sections. Artificial sunlight streamed through the transparent ceiling. A small stream ran through the center, flowing into a pond filled with strange fish. Marcus sat on a bench near the water. Sariel sat beside him, her tail curling around her feet. "Why did you save me?" she asked suddenly. Marcus looked at her. "What do you mean?" "You did not know me. You did not know I was Draconar. You did not know about the blood debt. Why did you risk your life for someone you did not know?" He considered the question. It deserved an honest answer. "I had a daughter once," he said. "A long time ago. She died when she was about your age." Sariel's eyes widened. "That is very sad." "It was. It still is." He looked out at the garden. "When I saw you being taken, I did not think about the danger. I did not think about dying. I only thought about a scared child who needed help. I could not save my daughter, but maybe I could save you." Sariel was quiet for a moment. Then she climbed into his lap and pressed her snout against his chest. "I am sorry about your daughter," she said, "but I am glad you saved me. I am glad you are here." Marcus put his arm around her small shoulders. "So am I," he said. The days passed quickly. Marcus trained with Varketh every morning, learning techniques adapted for his smaller size. He was never going to overpower a Draconar, but he could learn to redirect their strength against them. He could learn to target weak points, to use speed and agility to compensate for his lack of size. Slowly, he improved. The crew's attitude toward him changed as well. At first, they had watched him with skepticism and curiosity. Now they greeted him by name. Warriors nodded to him in the corridors. Some even sought him out to discuss combat techniques from human martial traditions. Vorothana monitored his progress closely. She attended his training sessions when her duties allowed. She took meals with him and Sariel every evening. She answered his questions about Draconar culture with patience and detail. Marcus found himself drawn to her in ways he had not expected. She was alien in every physical sense. Her body was scaled and massive. Her face was inhuman. Her wings could span 30 feet when fully extended. And yet there was something in her eyes, in the way she spoke, in the gentle way she interacted with her daughter, that transcended species. One evening, a week into the journey, Vorothana invited him to observe the stars from the ship's observation deck. "It is customary among my people," she explained, "to share the stars with those we consider family." "Am I family?" "You saved my daughter's life. You are bound to us by the blood debt. You train with our warriors and eat at our table. What would you call it?" Marcus had no answer. The observation deck was a massive transparent dome at the top of the ship. From there, the galaxy spread out in all directions, a tapestry of light and darkness that defied comprehension. "My people have traveled these stars for 10,000 years, Vorothana said. "We have seen civilizations rise and fall. We have witnessed species evolve and go extinct. In all that time, we have learned one truth above all others." "What truth is that?" She turned to look at him, her amber eyes reflecting the starlight. "That the universe favors the bold, those who reach beyond their limits, those who refuse to accept that they are small or weak or insignificant." She moved closer to him. "You have that quality, Marcus Cole. A fire that burns inside you. A refusal to surrender even when surrender is the logical choice. Or maybe I'm just too stubborn to know when to quit." "That is the same thing." She extended her wing and draped it over his shoulders, pulling him against her side. Her body was warm and solid, like leaning against a scaled mountain. "When we reach the homeworld," she said, "you will be presented to the High General, my father. He will have many questions. Some of his advisors will oppose your presence in our household. They will say you are too weak, too alien, too strange. What will you say?" Vorothana smiled, showing her sharp teeth. "I will say that you are exactly what we need." The Draconar homeworld was called Infernus. Marcus understood why when he saw it from orbit. The planet glowed with volcanic activity, rivers of molten rock visible even from space. The atmosphere was thick with ash and smoke. The oceans, such as they were, steamed and churned with thermal energy. "It looks like hell," he said. Vorothana stood beside him at the observation window. "By your species standards, it is. The surface temperature averages what you would call 70 degrees Celsius. The air contains compounds that would destroy human lungs within minutes. The native wildlife evolved to survive in conditions that would kill most galactic species instantly. And this is where you want me to live? You will live in the capital city. It is climate-controlled to accommodate visiting species. You will be safe there. And outside the city? Outside the city, you would die very quickly." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "But you will not need to leave the city. My household compound has everything you could require." The ship descended through the atmosphere. Marcus watched fire dance across the hull as they pushed through the upper layers. Below, the volcanic landscape grew more detailed. Mountains of black stone, rivers of liquid flame, creatures that resembled winged serpents riding the thermal currents. The capital city emerged from the smoke like a vision from ancient mythology. Towers of dark metal rose toward the sky, their surfaces reflecting the constant glow from below. Bridges spanned canyons of fire. Aircraft and dragons alike filled the air, moving in patterns that suggested strict traffic control. The eternal flame landed on a platform near the center of the city. When the cargo ramp lowered, Marcus was hit by a wall of heat, even through the environmental barriers. His cooling suit hummed as it worked overtime to keep him comfortable. A delegation waited at the base of the ramp. 20 Draconar in formal armor, their scales polished and their weapons ceremonial. At their head stood a male who made even Vorothana look small. This had to be the High General. He stood nearly 14 feet tall. His scales were deep crimson, almost black in places. Scars covered his body like a map of ancient battles. His eyes burned with an intensity that made Marcus want to take a step backward. But he did not step backward. Marines did not step backward. Vorothana descended the ramp first, Serial at her side. Marcus followed, keeping his posture straight and his expression neutral. "Father," Vorothana said, bowing her head slightly. "Daughter." The High General's voice was like an earthquake given sound. "I received your reports. The attack on the station, the deaths of your guards, the rescue of my granddaughter by this—" He paused, looking at Marcus. "Human. His name is Marcus Cole. He has been bound to our family by the blood debt." "So you claim." The High General circled Marcus slowly, examining him from all angles. "He is even smaller than I expected. The report said he killed 4 Karathi raiders. I find this difficult to believe." Marcus met the giant's gaze without flinching. "Believe what you want. I did what I did." The delegation murmured at his tone. No one spoke to the High General so directly, but the High General did not seem offended. Instead, something that might have been amusement flickered in his eyes. "You have courage, human. Courage or stupidity. Sometimes they are the same thing." He turned to Vorothana. "Bring him to the council chamber. We will discuss this matter formally." The council chamber was a massive hall carved from the bedrock beneath the city. Lava flowed through channels in the walls, providing both light and heat. The floor was polished obsidian, reflecting the fire like black glass. 20 Draconar sat in a semicircle, each representing a different noble house. The High General occupied a throne of carved bone at the center. Vorathana stood before them, Marcus at her side. "The blood debt is an ancient tradition," one of the council members said. This was Lord Cathrak, a gray-scaled elder with only one functioning wing. "It was created for Draconar who served Draconar, not for alien species." "The tradition does not specify species," Vorathana replied. "It specifies action. Marcus Cole took 12 plasma bolts saving my daughter. He killed 4 enemies with nothing but a stolen weapon and his bare hands. If a Draconar had done this, you would celebrate them as a hero. But he is not Draconar. He is human. A species we have barely acknowledged exists. That is precisely why we should acknowledge him now." Another council member spoke. This was Lady Severith, whose white scales marked her as one of the oldest nobles present. "There is precedent for accepting non-Draconar into a household. It is rare but not forbidden. The question is whether this particular human is worthy of the honor." "He is worthy," Vorathana said firmly. "I have observed him for weeks. He trains with our warriors. He learns our customs. He has already earned the respect of my crew through his determination and skill." "Respect from soldiers means nothing," Lord Cathrak sneered. "They would respect anyone who can fight. What matters is lineage, blood, history. This human has none of these things." Marcus had remained silent through the debate. Now he stepped forward. "May I speak?" The chamber fell silent. The council members stared at him as if he had grown a second head. "Humans do not address this council directly," Lord Cathrak said. "Then I'll address you all directly instead." Marcus looked at each council member in turn. "I know what you see when you look at me. A small, soft creature from a backwater species. A primitive who has no business standing in this hall. A joke at best, an insult at worst." He paused. "You're wrong." More murmuring. Lord Cathrak's expression darkened. "Where I come from, we have a saying. Deeds speak louder than words. I cannot change my species. I cannot grow scales or wings. I cannot breathe fire or survive on your volcanic plains. But I can prove my worth through action." He looked at the High General directly. "Test me. Whatever trial you deem appropriate. If I fail, I will leave this world and never return. If I succeed, you acknowledge the blood debt and accept my place in Vorathana's household." The High General regarded him with those burning eyes. The silence stretched. Finally, he spoke. "You offer yourself for trial. Do you understand what this means? Our trials are designed for Draconar warriors. Many who attempt them die. You are human. You would not survive. Then let me choose how I die." Something shifted in the High General's expression. He leaned forward on his throne. "What would you propose?" "Single combat, against any opponent of your choosing. I fight until I win, or I cannot fight any more." Lord Cathrak laughed. "Absurd. Any Draconar warrior would tear him apart in seconds." "I didn't say I would win," Marcus replied. "I said I would fight until I cannot fight any more. That is what I do. That is all I have ever done. If that is not worthy of respect, then nothing I could do would be." The High General was silent for a long moment. Then he stood, his massive form rising from the throne like a mountain coming to life. "I will test you myself," he said. The council erupted. Lord Cathrak was on his feet protesting. Lady Severith looked genuinely shocked. Vorathana's eyes went wide. "Father, that is not necessary." Silence. The High General's voice cut through the noise. "This human has challenged the council. He offers his life as proof of his worth. I will honor that challenge." He descended from the throne and stood before Marcus. Even stooping slightly, he towered over the human by 9 feet. "You will face me in the arena of fire. Tomorrow, At noon. The combat will be witnessed by all who wish to attend." He leaned down until his face was level with Marcus's. "Prepare yourself, human. I will not hold back." The night before the trial, Marcus sat alone in his quarters. He had declined all visitors, including Vorathana and Sariel. He needed time to think, time to prepare, time to accept that he would probably die tomorrow. The High General was the greatest warrior the Draconar had produced in centuries. He had fought in 100 battles and never lost. He was stronger, faster, and more experienced than any opponent Marcus had ever faced. The difference in their physical capabilities was laughable, and yet Marcus did not regret his challenge. He had spent years running from his pain, running from the memory of his wife and daughter, running from the emptiness that had consumed him since their deaths. He had come to the stars looking for an escape, but what he found was more of the same loneliness he had tried to leave behind. Then Sariel happened. The attack, the rescue, the blood debt, Vorathana. For the first time in years, he had something worth fighting for, something worth dying for. Tomorrow, he would step into the arena and face a dragon. He would not win, but he would show them what humans were made of. A knock came at his door. Before he could answer, it slid open to reveal Vorathana. "I told you I wanted to be alone," he said. "I know." She stepped inside, closing the door behind her. "I came anyway." She crossed the room and sat beside him on the bed. Her massive form made the furniture creak. "You should not have challenged my father," she said. "Probably not. He has killed warriors twice his size. Warriors with years more training and experience. You have no chance against him." "I know." Vorathana turned to look at him. Her amber eyes were troubled in a way he had never seen before. "Then why? Why did you do this?" Marcus was silent for a moment. Then he reached out and took her massive hand in both of his. "When I saw Sariel in that market, something broke inside me. The walls I had built around myself, the barriers I used to keep the world at a distance. For the first time since I lost my family, I cared about something, about someone." He looked up at her. "And then I met you. This fierce, powerful, beautiful creature who should have dismissed me as nothing. But you didn't. You saw something in me, something I had forgotten existed." He squeezed her hand. "I'm not fighting your father for honor or tradition or any of that. I'm fighting because I want to prove that I'm worthy. Worthy of Sariel's trust. Worthy of your respect. Worthy of belonging to something again." Vorathana stared at him for a long moment. Then she did something unexpected. She kissed him. Her lips were scaled but surprisingly soft. Her hand came up to cradle the back of his head. Gentle despite its size. The kiss was brief but intense, carrying a weight of emotion that words could never express. When she pulled back, her eyes were shining. "You are already worthy," she said. "You were worthy the moment you threw yourself at those raiders. You were worthy every time you got up after Varketh knocked you down. You were worthy when you comforted my daughter in the garden and told her about the family you lost." She pressed her forehead against his. "But if you must fight my father, then fight to survive. Fight to come back to me. Because whatever happens tomorrow, I will not let you go easily." The Arena of Fire was exactly what its name suggested. A massive circular pit carved into the volcanic rock, surrounded by tiered seating that could hold thousands. Lava channels ran beneath the floor, making the surface hot enough to burn bare feet. Ash fell from the sky like gray snow. Marcus stood at one end of the arena, wearing only the basic training clothes Varketh had given him. He carried no weapons. The Draconar fought with claws and teeth and fire. Bringing human weapons would have been pointless. The stands were packed. Every noble house had sent representatives. Warriors and civilians alike had come to witness the spectacle. The human who had challenged the High General. Most of them expected a quick, bloody ending. At the other end of the arena, the High General entered. He wore no armor, no ornamentation. His crimson scales gleamed in the light from below. His wings spread wide, casting a shadow that reached across the pit. "Final chance, human," he called out. "Withdraw your challenge and leave with your life." Marcus shook his head. The High General nodded slowly. "So be it." He charged. Marcus had seen Draconar move before in training and around the ship. He thought he understood their speed. He was wrong. The High General crossed the arena in seconds, covering ground that should have taken much longer. His clawed hand swept toward Marcus like a scythe. Marcus dove to the side, rolling across the hot stone. The claws missed him by inches, close enough to feel the displaced air. He came up running, circling away from his opponent. The High General turned and attacked again, and again. Each strike came faster than the last. Marcus dodged some. He blocked others using techniques Varketh had taught him. Many got through, leaving gashes in his arms and torso. The crowd watched in silence. This was not what they expected. The human should have been dead within seconds. Instead, he was still moving, still fighting. Blood dripped onto the arena floor, sizzling on the heated stone. Marcus's vision was starting to blur. His cooling suit had been damaged in the fight, and the heat was becoming overwhelming. Every breath burned his lungs, but he kept moving. He kept fighting. The High General paused, studying him with those ancient eyes. "You are more resilient than I anticipated," he said, "but resilience only delays the inevitable. You cannot defeat me." "I never said I could." Marcus spat blood. "But I can show you what I'm made of." He charged. It was insane, suicidal. A small human attacking a giant dragon with nothing but his fists. The crowd gasped. The High General met his charge head-on. His claws tore into Marcus's sides. His tail swept Marcus's legs. His massive body slammed Marcus into the ground hard enough to crack the stone. But Marcus kept fighting. He drove his elbow into the High General's throat, hitting the weak point Varketh had shown him. He jabbed his fingers at the vulnerable spots beneath the scales. He fought with everything he had, every technique he knew, every ounce of strength remaining in his broken body. It was not enough. It was never going to be enough. But he did not stop. Finally, the High General pinned him to the ground. One massive foot pressed against Marcus's chest, holding him in place. Claws rested against his throat. "Yield!" the High General commanded. Marcus looked up at him with blood-filled eyes. "No, you will die." "Then I die." Marcus managed a bloody smile. "But I die standing up." The arena was utterly silent. Thousands of Draconars stared at the spectacle before them. A human, beaten and bleeding and broken, refusing to surrender against the most powerful warrior their civilization had ever produced. The High General stared down at him for a long moment. Then he did something no one expected. He laughed. It started as a rumble in his chest, building until it echoed off the arena walls. He removed his foot from Marcus's chest and stepped back. "Stand up, human." Marcus tried. His legs buckled. He fell. He tried again. This time he made it, swaying on his feet, but upright. The High General turned to the crowd. "I have fought for 300 years, he announced. "I have faced warriors from a dozen species. I have killed enemies by the thousands. Never have I met an opponent who refused to yield. Never have I seen such determination in the face of certain defeat." He turned back to Marcus. "You are small. You are weak. You are fragile in ways my people cannot comprehend. But inside you burns a fire that would shame many Draconar. This is what we should have seen in humanity from the beginning. Not primitives to be dismissed. Warriors to be respected." He extended his hand. "Marcus Cole, I acknowledge the blood debt. I welcome you to my household. From this day forward, you are Draconar in all but body. Any who challenge you, challenge me." Marcus took his hand. The crowd erupted. The ceremony took place 1 week later, after Marcus had recovered enough to stand without assistance. The wounds from the fight would leave scars, but the medical technology had saved his life once again. He stood in the throne room of the High General's palace, surrounded by the noble council. Vorathana stood beside him, her wing draped over his shoulders. Sariel held his hand, her golden scales bright with happiness. The High General spoke the ancient words of the blood debt, binding Marcus to the family line. When it was done, the council members approached one by one to offer their acknowledgement. Even Lord Cathrak, though his expression suggested he was swallowing something unpleasant. That night, there was a celebration. The entire capital city joined in honoring the new member of the High General's household, music and fire and feasting that lasted until dawn. Marcus stood on a balcony overlooking the celebration, watching dragons fly through the smoke-filled sky. Vorathana joined him, her body warm against his. "You survived," she said. "Barely. You impressed my father. That is not easily done. I impressed myself. Didn't think I had that much fight left in me." She turned him to face her. Her amber eyes reflected the distant flames. "You have more fight than you know, more strength, more potential. I saw it the moment you threw yourself at those raiders. The galaxy sees humans as small and weak. They are wrong. You are Deathworlders. You evolved in conditions that would break most species, and that has made you something extraordinary." She leaned down and kissed him again. "Stay with me," she said against his lips. "Not because of the blood debt. Not because of duty or honor. Stay because you want to." Marcus thought about all the years he had spent running. All the pain he had carried, all the emptiness he had tried to fill with work and distance and solitude. Then he thought about Sariel's smile, Vorathana's eyes, the feeling of belonging to something larger than himself. "I'll stay," he said. Vorathana smiled. Her tail curled around his waist, pulling him closer. "Good," she said, "because I was not going to let you leave anyway." Marcus laughed. For the first time in longer than he could remember, it was genuine. Behind him, the celebration continued. Above him, dragons danced through the fire-lit sky. Beside him, a 10-foot dragon woman held him like he was the most precious thing in the universe. He had come to the stars looking for escape. What he found was something far better. He found home.